started 2007, 2008. And so you had a market that had been characterized by increasing demand and higher cost of production, and having to use price in order to allocate the scarce resource, and creating these very large booms and busts prior to the shale gas revolution, to being one where it was kind of in perpetual oversupply and kind of bouncing around marginal cost to produce. And as a trader, this is fantastic. If you're on the right side, this is very boring. The amount of infrastructure that's required to run the data centers for AI is immense. And the industry is under a real challenge. It's putting tremendous challenge upon the utility industry and the electric industry in general.
ดีโหมดง่ายดายออกโหมด3 คน A day of travel can bring a basket of wisdom
Tak kenal, maka tak sayang. You can't love what you don't know.
Build a deep connection, get to know more people, suppliers, customers, authorities.
And most importantly, you have to meet them face to face.
เข้าเมืองตาหลิวต้องหลิวตาตาม
Kenapa ASEAN? Karena ASEAN adalah rumah saya. Untuk itu, mari kita berkolaborasi bersama.
What legacy I would love to leave is to make sure that in my village I have infrastructure. So long when I'm gone, things are still working, then I have done my job. And if some people get inspired through my work and then try to engage themselves for their community and create something that is inspiring for everyone, I will be happy.
What's the best piece of advice you would give to someone young who wants to make a difference, actually, as well? In architecture or with something else?
Well, I'm not the right one to just do that.
I think you are.
Yeah, but with the pressure you have, and then you try to be the good one, the fancy guy, the intellectual one. I have no advice then to believe in yourself and really work hard. You know, when I started, no one would have imagined that I will be able to see my name connected with Aga Khan or Pritzker, or sitting at Bloomberg to talk about sustainability, about future of search. No, myself 5 years ago, if you told me that, I will say no. I would never imagine. So I will encourage everyone to believe in what you're doing and not try to run after the newest of the newest. Just be consistent. Just work on things that matters for you. Really, at the long term, it pays.
So you have another new career, which is being a board member of a very famous company. You've been elected to the Meta board. It used to be known as Facebook, and obviously it's more than Facebook. So how did that come about? Did you know Mark Zuckerberg, or did he invest in your fund and he really liked the returns, or how did you come about? Are you a tech person as well?
I am not a tech person, which made the invitation even that much more surprising. But I had known Mark a little bit. Had spent some time with him and knew Mark Andreessen, who's a long-standing external board member on Meta as well. And I think they were looking for somebody who had some energy expertise. The amount of infrastructure that's required to run the data centers for AI is immense. And the industry is under a real challenge. It's putting tremendous challenge upon the utility industry and the electric industry in general. But the tech platform companies that are involved in AI are really struggling with this. I think my background in public policy is an asset to them, and then my background as an investor is helpful as well.
So do you think AI and the related kinds of things that have come about because of that are going to force our energy system to produce more energy that is really good, that is good for the environment, or are you worried about the ability to keep up with the energy demands that tech is producing?
Electricity demand is a tension between rising efficiencies on one side and rising GDP on the other, right? And so for the kind of past 15 years, from the mid-2000s to about 2022 in the United States, those very much canceled themselves out, and you saw flat electricity demand. But that's all changing. It started in 2022, and I think there were 3 issues. One was this growth in data center that's largely being driven by AI. Second is the reshoring of manufacturing, and the third is the electrification of everything. And so thinking about EVs. And so that's putting real strain on the system with this increase in load growth. And that's now combined with this next tranche of intermittent resource coming on, the wind and solar coming onto the system, and utilities having to try to balance those resources. They're also being asked to decrease emissions in general. And then fourth, there's a lot of pressure on affordability today with all the pressure from inflation. And so I've said that a utility could do a LOS 4, which they're being faced with all four of them, almost every utility in America today. They can do one or two very easily. I think they can probably do three. Trying to do all four at the same time and maintain this grid and maintain the reliability and affordability that Americans demand is enormously challenging.
So let's talk about energy generally. I know you're a natural gas trader, but you obviously follow the energy markets. So just in case I wanted to put a trade on tomorrow, should I assume oil prices are going up or going down?
No comment.
No comment. All right, well, let me ask you this. Do you think that it is realistic to think that we can get out of carbon in our lifetime, in the sense that we get down to a so-called neutrality position, and we really are not adding more carbon to the atmosphere? Is that going to take 100 years, 50 years? Is that realistic, or is carbon so cheap and inefficient and efficient that we really never going to replace it in our lifetimes?
Yeah. So it's very clear, and I think almost everybody acknowledges now that the global warming that's happening is affected by man, is affected by increasing carbon in the atmosphere, and that there is significant negative effects associated with global warming. So now the question is kind of what's the prognostication of being able to meaningfully address it? And it's incredibly hard. The energy system is characterized by very long-lived assets. So if you think about tech, you usually keep your cell phone for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, and then you throw it away and get a new one. You know, if you're looking at software, it updates almost constantly. But when you have if you build a new gas generation plant or coal generation plant today, it can last 50 years. And I think people have looked at kind of the growth of EV sales and say, like, hey, look, it's doubling every year. It's 15% this year, and it's going to keep going up, without sitting down and doing the math of, okay, what does that mean for internal combustion engines that are on the road 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 30 years from now? And that's why this problem is so difficult. It is like, you not only have to build new stuff to meet growth in energy demand, which is linked to GDP growth, but then you also have to replace this enormous stock of energy assets.
So, okay, so if you were called by the President of the United States,
Yes.
and said, John, you really know a lot about energy.
Yes.
I'm looking for a Secretary of Energy. Would you ever go in and be Secretary of Energy or something like that?
I don't think my skill set's best utilized within government.
All right, suppose somebody came to you and said, you are a well-known person, got some money, Texas is a person that likes entrepreneurs, you should run for governor or senator. Would you ever consider that?
Still within government now.
Not gonna happen. All right, okay, so that's not gonna
That would
happen.
be even worse in an elected position. I can tell a story about how there's kind of social value in trading, and somebody needs to price and manage risk. If that is a socially valuable job, you kind of have to squint in order to believe that.